Hey everyone, Anthony here. Good morning. It's one of those days where uh, you kind of just rush out of, well, I do. I don't know what you guys do, but I rush out of bed because there's something I want to talk about. I don't mean to have this whole Jesus light shining on me effect going on right now. Uh, just not too much we can really do about it other than me move my car, and I just got set up and I don't really feel like doing that. Let me get a little bit more situated here. Tried getting my GoPro to block it out a little bit, but it is what it is. And hopefully this battery doesn't die. Battery I just took off the charger, and I'm spilling coffee everywhere. But I don't know. These intros are okay because it shows that I'm just a normal human being, I guess. Someone relatable, maybe, not like a news anchor that has to have everything perfect and all that stuff. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about was this Donald Trump being banned from Twitter, and also there was a Discord channel of his that was banned, and a Reddit subreddit that was banned, some other stuff too. So the first thing, let me find it. I have the Zero Hedge article up that has like everything, and I really should be showing you guys all this because everything gets deleted like all the time from Twitter, but I'm looking for the exact reason for all right. So Twitter's statement says permanent suspension of @RealDonaldTrump. After a close review of recent tweets from the @RealDonaldTrump account and the context around them, specifically how they are being received and interpreted on and off Twitter, we have permanently suspended the account due to risk of further incitement of violence. So just right there, the immediate thing is that when they say the context around them, Twitter is the one who's putting context to these Donald Trump tweets. And being banned because of what someone thinks you mean and not what you actually mean is completely 1984 communist, Marxist, socialist, not free speech, every bad word in the book. They're the ones who are taking this out of context. So it says, in the context of horrific events this week, which there's so many videos showing that the police officers let them into the Capitol building. I don't know. I can't say if Donald Trump called to have these people let in the Capitol building, or if it was staged, if it was like Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats let these people in the Capitol building. Because so these are the thoughts, not just my thoughts. This is just like the thoughts of what could have happened if Donald Trump let them in. Then that could be seen as a insurrection or inciting a riot or whatever, if Donald Trump is the one who let them into the White House. If it was like Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, then it could be seen as a setup, as being staged and all that stuff. If they were trying to hide that, if they're trying to build the narrative, build the story that that these people broke into the White House, broke into Nancy Pelosi's office. You've seen the guy that was arrested for having his feet up. Here's a picture here, having his feet up on the desk. Then you've seen the one guy in the Supreme Court building or whatever, where the inauguration was happening. There's this one guy with the like Indian headdress on and Indian pants on, calling himself a shaman, which doesn't quite fit with the MO of a Trump supporter. And there's also pictures of him being at Black Lives Matter rallies with Black Lives Matter banners and stuff, which were completely wiped from the internet after everyone started spreading them around and everything. Completely wiped from Twitter, and Google wiped them and everything. So that's the thing. Like, I don't know who let them into the building or whatever. In the context of the horrific events this week, we made it clear on Wednesday that additional violations of the Twitter rules would potentially result in this very course of action. So originally they suspended Donald Trump for 12 hours. And then what they're referencing here when they say we made it clear on Wednesday is that they suspended Donald Trump for 12 hours. And they're saying additional violations of these rules will result in him being banned. Our public interest framework exists to enable the public to hear from elected officials and world leaders directly. It is built on a principle that the people have the right to hold power to account in the open. What? It is built on a principle that the people have a right to hold power to account in the open. I'm not 100% sure what that means. So, anyway, they're saying, however, we made it clear going back years that these accounts are not above our rules entirely and cannot use Twitter to incite violence, among other things. We will continue to be transparent around our policies and their enforcement. Below is comprehensive analysis of our policy enforcement's approach to this case. So obviously, the main problem with this that everyone talks about is Twitter is being selective with their rules. They didn't ban Joe Biden and Kamala Harris for promoting and fundraising bailout funds for the Kenosha rioters and rioters for George Floyd and all the massive, insane protests across the whole world, all the cities, everywhere. They're the ones who were inciting violence and saying like riots are the voice of the people and all this crazy stuff like that. None of these people were banned at all. And that's a obvious hypocritical double standard right there. That just shows incredible bias in Twitter and in Facebook and all social media, which I think is just ingrained in this tech culture that tech is a future and whatever, and destroy everything that thinks there might be some bad things with tech or whatever. So anyway, the exact tweets, it says, overview. On January 8th, 2021, President Donald J. Trump tweeted, "The 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America first and make America great again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form." So I think what he's talking about his movement, about what he's accomplished, and making the Republicans stronger, making their voices stronger, teaching them how to argue and fight. Stefan Molyneux did this with me and Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson. They all have valid arguments and can actually debate, and they taught me how to argue and debate and everything like that. That's what this tweet means to me, is that all these people should still argue and fight. It doesn't say anything about fighting at all, but fighting doesn't mean physical violence. Arguing is also fighting. And I don't mean like arguing, but I mean like debating and standing up for what you believe in and stuff like that. Doesn't mean violence. So shortly thereafter, the president tweeted, "To all those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. So what that means to me is that he doesn't want to be around Joe Biden because he feels, and tons of evidence all over the place that was never seen, never heard in court, dismissed under legal technicalities of like, oh, you didn't file this paper correctly or stuff like that. What this means to me is that he doesn't want to be around these type of people. He doesn't want to be around to witness the inauguration because he doesn't feel that it's fair that he was elected. He feels that the election was manipulated and rigged and fraud and all that stuff, which I'm going to get in trouble for saying fraud on YouTube. That's what it means to me. I don't want to be around manipulative, abusive people either. I distance myself from them immediately when I realize what's going on and all that stuff. So Twitter says, due to the ongoing tensions in the United States and an uptick in the global conversation in regards to the people who violently stormed the Capitol on January 6th, these two tweets must be read in the context of broader events in the country and the ways in which the president's statements can be mobilized by different audiences, including to incite violence, as well as to as well as in the context of the pattern of behavior from this account in recent weeks. Twitter deleted all the videos of Donald Trump saying that to stand down and to be peaceful and everything like that. Donald Trump had all these videos telling people to be peaceful and not do all this stuff. And then, yeah, you can twist around his word and saying like, oh, that's like a false flag, maybe it's called. I'm not sure, but say like, oh, Donald Trump is only saying that to cover his ass. Behind the scenes, he's really telling these people to wage war, and that's incredibly unfair to like the 10th degree. You're just making up your own context and what you think someone says and something means. Talk to someone with the actual words that are coming out of their mouth. Interact with the person that's actually speaking to you with what they're actually saying, not what you think they're saying, because you 100% can be wrong. It's possible you can be wrong in what you're thinking. And that just goes to, when you do that to people, it goes to destroy relationships. It goes to incite division in the country. If I go up to a black person, just automatically assume that they voted for Donald Trump, that they hate white people, that or that they voted for Joe Biden, that they hate white people, that they helped rig the election or whatever, I'm not going to have a relationship with them because I'm automatically assuming that they're this terrible person with stuff that I have no idea if they did any of that stuff. I have no idea what their beliefs are, what their values are, anything like that. And that's when you get into conversations. I used to love doing this. That's why I had cornrows and blattery, please don't die. Blattery. Like I talk to all these people like one-on-one and actually listen to their opinions, and it takes a ton of time to do that, to actually get to know someone. But you find out like, yeah, there are some bad people, and then there are some black people that are bad and manipulative and vicious and all that, and then there are some that don't believe any of that stuff and are very, very gentle for the most part. And it goes with white people too. There's white people that can be mean and vicious and all that. From what I've seen, it's more like the older black people or white people. Older people and people with families are more of who I can relate to. It doesn't matter what skin color. And people who have experienced like similar things as me, as far as manipulation and abuse and all that stuff. So it says, so another thing that they were saying is, battery, please don't die. Another thing that they were saying, this tweet where he says, to all those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. They're trying to say that that's like a signal that Donald Trump is sending out that people can bomb the inauguration because he won't be there. People can cause violence at the inauguration because he won't be there. He won't be in harm's way. So, assessment. We assess the two tweets referenced above under the glorification of violence policy, which aims to prevent the glorification of violence that could inspire others to replicate violent acts and determine that they are highly likely to encourage and inspire people to replicate the criminal acts that took place at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. The determination is based on a number of factors, including President Donald Trump's statement that he will not be attending the inauguration is being received by a number of his supporters as further confirmation that the election was not legitimate, and is seen as him disavowing his previous claim made via two tweets, 1 and 2, by his Deputy Chief of Staff, Dave Scavino, that there would be an orderly transition on January 20th. There is an orderly transition. Like Donald Trump says he's going to stand down, says he's going to give up the presidency on January 20th. You're just making up all this stuff in your head. It's 100% in Donald Trump's course of legal action to pursue everything legally in the courts as far as getting the votes overturned and exposing fraud and all that. It's 100% legal and okay. Like, this is the court system that we have set up to resolve these disputes. He went through it. He doesn't agree with how everything was handled, and that's fine. It's not saying that he's not giving up office or anything. The second tweet may also serve as encouragement to those potentially considering violent acts that the inauguration would be a safe target as he will not be attending. So that's what I just talked about before. They're making up all these like meanings that Donald Trump has no control over how people interpret what he says. You can be incredibly, you have to be, and you can be incredibly clear in what you say and what you mean. And with platforms like Twitter, with only 160 character limit or whatever, you can't really go in. That's why my videos are so long and stuff too, because I have to go into incredible detail about what I mean. And that's why my conversations with people are very long, because I have to go into detail about what I mean. They have to go into detail about what they mean. Like, I'll ask some questions to make sure I'm on the same page and everything like that. So the second tweet, the use of the words American patriots to describe some of his supporters is also being interpreted as support for those committing violent acts in the U.S. Capitol. The mention of his supporters having a giant voice long into the future, and that they will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form, is being interpreted as further indication that President Trump does not plan to facilitate an orderly transition, and instead that he plans to contribute to support, empower, and shield those who believe he won the election. Yeah, and he said that he's doing that through making new platforms, new social media platforms, that he's exploring that aspect so that everyone can have voices and can speak and everything. And you know what's going to happen when we have these social media platforms? Parler was banned from Google and Apple Play Store. Like, you can't get into Parler unless you download the APK and go through all these things otherwise, but making it incredibly inconvenient. But all these people, all the Democrats or all the opposition is just going to come over to these platforms and start arguing with us and everything like that, which is fine. I'm fine with arguing as long as it's peaceful and there's no like attacks, like all these death threats that have been brought out against me. All like most of my top videos have been demonetized and banned from YouTube. They're still there, but they don't show up in search results and everything like that. Videos with over 100,000 views, I made like $60 on, which I should have made like $700 to $1,000 on. $60. Anyway, plans for the future armed protests have already begun proliferating on and off Twitter, including the proposed secondary attack on the U.S. Capitol building on January 17th. So, one last thing. Let me turn this off. Let me gather my thoughts. But yeah, it's just like you don't control how people interpret what you say. Like, I have no control about how you're interpreting what I'm saying right now. I can just do my best to explain it. Twitter, by banning all these people, are the ones who's inciting violence. All these people who are being banned and suppressed, they're not giving anyone a choice but to be violent. Like, when you do this stuff to people, now I'm not encouraging violence. I'm not saying go out and shoot people or anything like that. But Twitter is the one who's perpetuating all this stuff by banning all these people and banning these people's voices and everything, banning all these accounts. The last thing I wanted to say, it's almost like, because you could think of the story with Jesus Christ, like I thought about this like years ago, but with Jesus being like hung on the cross and persecuted and all that stuff, that's exactly the type of things that happened to Donald Trump, to Stefan Molyneux, to Jordan Peterson, to Steven Crowder, years back to Total Biscuit, because Total Biscuit didn't had a hugely popular YouTube channel where he criticized and reviewed video games, and some video games he didn't like, and the developers and people horribly attacked him for it, to where he's like, all right, I'm just going to talk about games that I like anymore and not give any attention to the bad games. The problem is though, like, criticism is good for the world. Like, I'm afraid now if I leave a bad review on a place that is going to be seen as me being aggressive and bad. Like, bad reviews and criticism is good for the world, good for society, because it shows people, like, it exposes the bad things that people do, like Zybort's detailing with them scratching my windows and all this stuff. It shows people that these businesses uh, aren't performing up to standards, aren't doing a good job, and why would they need to step up their game to compete in a free market? That's kind of, my battery's dying. I don't want to go into a whole big detail about that, but explaining all that. But take care, guys. Thank you and goodbye. Well, yes, you should be scared of all these, no matter what side you're on, no matter what side you're on or whatever, you should be scared because these people are taking things out of context, and you can be next. You can be, if you say something wrong, just like that, your words wrong in their minds, just like that, your words will be twisted around and taken out of context to mean something totally different. It's happened with me with that harassment charge with that girl on the cigar bar that I was going to. All this stuff, like, after the police, there was a huge fight in this bar. The police showed up or whatever. After the bar closed, I went back there to see if she was okay. And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. And then I turned around and walked away. So then months later, she twists that around in court to say that I went there to stalk her and kidnap her. I'm like, what? But this is why be scared, because this stuff can and will happen to you.